Okay. Hi, David. How are you?
It's a great day.
Well, happy to have you here. Thank you for coming on the show. You've got a book called Breakthrough to Yes, and we'll talk about your book in a minute. I have a bio for you here, but after reading through it, I couldn't figure out what exactly you do. So maybe you can explain what it is that you do aside from writing the book.
Most of my work is with organizations and communities in conflict, people that are just trying to get past their challenges. But Douglas, I'm more than happy to give our viewers a little bit of an overview of who David B. Savage is.
Yeah, please do.
Number one, thank you for having me, and thank you for Mickey Mickelson for introducing us. My career has really been around getting the right people in the right space with the right information to make better decisions together. And right now, my week is full of coaching organizations, managing some conflict, getting people to innovate together. I am president of Savage Management. I've published 7 books and 45 podcasts on collaborative leadership in the last 5 years. And I'm president of my local Cranbrook Sunrise Rotary Club in British Columbia. I'm also co-chair of the Environmental Sustainability Green Team for the District of Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho, and Southeastern British Columbia. Director of the Waterton Glacier International Peace Park. So you probably get a sense of my volunteerism, my hope for a better future for my 5 grandchildren. Especially, I think if I was to give myself a tagline, which I often try to, is I look at complex situations and through critical thinking and collaboration, we can create shared value to make a better future. So it's actually helping people, facilitating people, writing, speaking, doing workshops, but it's actually all about the people in your audience as opposed to me. The older I get and the more teenage children I've gone through and now grandchildren, I realize nobody gets to be right. So let's find out our collective future of and how do we want to create that, Douglas?
Nobody gets to be right. Yeah, you can either be right or you can get something done. It seems to be one or the
Yeah,
other.
isn't that the truth? Is we can fight and battle and be in polarity all we want, but we're just wasting a lot of resources.
Okay, so just to be clear, so would companies hire you to come in and kind of straighten things out if they're having issues with labor disputes, or would you not deal with that as much as management issues?
It's all of the above because we can't separate labor from management or customer service. In fact, my focus is getting organizations, whether they're for profit or not for profit, to actually focus on what value they're giving to their community, protecting the environment, and building loyalty amongst their customers. So the focus really must be holistic because some of the best leaders are not in the org chart. And at the same time, I've had oil companies battling each other for years. And once they actually sit down at the same table in the same room and listen to each other with intense listening, they start to understand that they've got way more in common, and especially common values, than they thought. So that's why when you laughed about nobody gets to be right, it really works when people say, okay, it's not about me winning or you winning. It's like, okay, what can we learn? But more importantly, a lot of the issues that organizations and people and communities have faced with and families, they haven't been faced with them before. So it's how do we get together and figure this out?
Why has the art of compromise been lost or seemed to have been lost over the last 20, 30 years?
Well, I'll respond, Douglas, with 2 reasons. Is I actually don't like the word compromise because it sounds to me like having an apple pie and cutting it in half or cutting it in any way you decide. I really think, to use that old acronym, that metaphor, the pie gets way bigger. In my career in renewables, coaching healthcare companies, coaching tourism companies, I always find that what comes out of this process is way larger than what people thought they were fighting over. So I don't like the word compromise. I like collaborative growth. And to the points that we're both very aware of, and your audience is very aware of, is there seems to be such a desire to be right in the world. It's not just America, it's Canada as well, it's globally, as to we get the most endorphins, dopamines, whatever, brain chemistry by winning. And we're finding that winning at all costs is actually separating nations. Certainly from I just spent a couple of weeks with my family in California. I see it there. I see it with my family in Ontario and my friends in France. It's we're spending way too much time focusing on me being right and I need to teach you, and not enough time to say, what if we did things differently? And what if we focused on the future that we want to create together? I do find this is a bit longer answer, Douglas, than you'd suggested, but I really do find that any conflicts, whether it's the Diablo Canyon nuclear reactor in California, whether it's climate justice in Belfast that's just finishing up, when we focus on what are our values and what's the future we want to create together, it allows people to come back together, because there's no argument about wanting a better future for our children, our grandchildren, and for our planet.
Well, I certainly would hope not. I think that would be something that we could all agree on. At least I would hope that was the case. My theory about why we've become so self-righteous, it goes to the internet. That because of the internet providing everybody, they can be their own news agency, essentially, by posting and tweeting, and they think the world really cares what they have to say. And I think it's given people this sort of false sense of empowerment. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and a false sense of secrecy that, okay, I can blast away at you, but I'm safe. I can say or do whatever I want through my internet connection. It's just so bad. Like, as an example, about a month ago, I was negotiating for a client, and I sent an email to the other organization, and I meant it very clearly, doing it in respect and within the industry standards. And they reacted. They just went ballistic on me. Dave, you're such a scoundrel. And I had to reread it, and I realized, the tone is different. So even though my intention was, I believe, progressive and positive, until we're face to face, it's really hard to get proper communication. So yes, it's easy to say the internet, social media, anti-social media, all that. But I'm an advocate of, okay, what can I do? Douglas, what do I own? How do I manage my conversations? And to the best of my ability, well, I largely went off Facebook about 4 years ago and dropped Twitter, for example, because there's too much of that.
Good for you.
And I'd really like to have more authentic conversations with a smaller tribe.
Yeah, I agree with you. Unfortunately, we have to be on there just because it's the main sort of source for getting our show out to everybody. If we had an alternative, I would take it.
And I congratulate you, Douglas. From what I know of what you do and your team, you are having an engaging, respectful, diverse conversation there. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. We've got just a couple of minutes left, and I want to hit on your book again, or hit on it to begin with. I think we just touched on it at the beginning. Breakthrough to Yes. Can you give us like a 1 or 2 minute synopsis of what the book is going to be for somebody if they pick it up and read it?
Yeah, so breakthrough to yes, unlocking the possible within a culture of collaboration. Focus on the culture part because collaboration isn't holding a meeting and manipulation by meeting. It's a longer term culture building or opportunity, and that's what I've done in my 7 books, including Breakthrough to Yes. Uh, and I think the other thing that your listeners, your viewers might be interested, if they get a chance to look at the cover of my book, there are 4 letters that are shaded on purpose in Breakthrough to Yes. And those shaded letters are EGOS. Of course, egos are the greatest threat to intelligent collaboration. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
so
around
true.
that and be a little bit playful. Thanks for laughing because that was intentional.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, it sounds very interesting. Now, is the book sort of a culmination of what you have learned and experienced through your career as a, what do I want to call you, an advisor?
Yeah, coach, consultant,
Coach?
advisor.
Okay. Yeah.
Just don't call me late for dinner. But I just realized that probably the best word is facilitator of these
Okay.
conversations, of bringing organizations so they can actually have the difficult conversations. In my career, I've made lots of money. I used to run little oil and gas companies, and we made lots of money with by engaging with those that were against us, those that were really wanted me to die, and listening deeply, listening to what their concerns and their values were, and then creating a collaborative outcome. There was one instance where they went within 6 months from just wanting me to go away to saying, Dave, when are you going to do more? Because the outcome actually created shared value for them, for us, for the natural gas processing facility that we were going to, and for the community. So we just realized that if it's just about my company making more money in the short term, all I'm going to get is resistance. But if it's about really listening to my stakeholders, really listening to environmental protection, listening to my own conscience and values, and thinking about, well, David, if your mom and dad were on the other side of that table, how would you act differently? And that has created a lot of great breakthroughs. So that's what I'm trying to share. 2 ways: a lot of the stories from my career, and also when I started writing this book about 6 years ago, I realized, collaboration seems to be a new science, and any of the books that I could source on collaboration in the first 2 years were not collaborative books. So I also have quotes and advice and surveys of over 100 leaders from 8 countries. And that lets me off the hook because my stories are my stories, but there's another 100 voices there that our readers and listeners can learn from and see what's of value.
Well, it sounds super. We do have to wind this down. We are out of time. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Thank you, Douglas. DavidBSavage.com. David B as in Bruce, that's my middle name, DavidBSavage.com. And that's how I brand myself. And there's lots of resources, lots of free stuff there to encourage people to make it work for them and make their business more prosperous and their community healthier.
Okay, and people can buy the book through that?
Yes, they can.
Okay, super.
And I think Douglas, just an offer. I really believe on one-on-one, not big blasts. So if any of your loyal tribe wants to reach out to me, I'd be happy to have a quick conversation just to answer any further questions.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Nice meeting you.